Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. Trying to help you guys who are dealing with families with substance use disorder and, problem use. We're here today with Jillian, who is, we're actually also going to have Izzy join us in a little bit too. She just was in class, so she's going to come a little bit late. I will give Jillian an opportunity to introduce herself in a moment. I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping things first. If you have questions, we're open to any and all questions. Jillian and Izzy will be talking more from the prevention side today. So we'll be talking about Herren Project clubs and different techniques some of the kids use to try to manage stress. So it's more of a prevention focus today than typical, but that doesn't mean that you can't ask me questions related to what's going on in your life currently if you have a loved one who's actively using. So if you do have questions though, and you have joined the webinar version, please, or the Zoom webinar version, please put your questions into the Q&A box down the bottom of your screen. Do not put it in the chat box, and also try to avoid using any identifying information. This is live on Facebook, so there is no confidentiality involved in this today. If you're on Facebook, you can put your questions right in the comment box underneath, and the questions will be given to us. So that's about it. So Jillian, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Kristin. So my name's Jillian Moriarty. I am the prevention coordinator and the executive producer of Herren Project Live that streams live on Wednesday nights at 8:30. I do the prevention work in the school systems for Herren Project. I've been with Herren Project for a little bit over a year. And what I do is start Herren Project clubs, talk to teens, talk to the youth, and work with the advisors to help youth make healthy choices and stay substance free.
Yep. So, and I'm so glad you're on today because this is such an important topic. So can you tell us a little bit about what's in the kits and what we're working on and why we're trying to introduce this to high schools?
So right now there's so much going on in the world, and kids really need an outlet to deal with stresses that they're facing in schools and home, things that they don't even know that they're dealing with are bothering them, and they need an outlet to talk about it. They need an outlet to be with their peers and to have somebody listen to them, whether it be a teacher, a coach, an advisor. So Herren Project has Herren Project Club. So it's all virtual. We have 20 activities online right now that will help the students. So what they're designed by Kristin, who's, our licensed clinician, the teachers, staff, students, a broad group of educated adults and some students who know what exactly they're dealing with in the school. So what you can do is print out one of the activities from the Herren Project Club online, and it's just a fun activity, different fun activities for students to work on as a group. So because it's all virtual now, you can work through Google Meets or a Zoom, and it's been very successful in a lot of the schools. And you could work with on these activities, get some talking going, get some stress out, and figure out how to deal with what kids are facing every day. So Herren Project Club, they're student-run groups inside the schools typically, if schools are open, that meet maybe once or twice a month, once a week, however it's designed in the school. And students run these conversations and talk about what's going on and work with each other to make good decisions and help each other out and guide each other to stay substance free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and one of the things that I know that we've noticed here at Herren Project is that our society doesn't tend to have a ton of coping mechanisms anymore. We've kind of lost sight of that. And I think, and this is opinion here, but what I've seen is I believe that we've moved towards being sort of an instant gratification society where if we have a feeling, we want to medicate it. We want a pill to take away the feeling, right? Mm-hmm. We have a very difficult time sitting in anything uncomfortable We have pain, we want it taken away. And I'm not by any means suggesting that medication isn't a valid form of treatment, because it absolutely is. But oftentimes we aren't comfortable sitting in any feelings at all. So we've gotten away from normalizing things like sadness and fear and whatnot, which are all normal human emotions. So I think one of the things that we're trying to do at Herren Project is to create an atmosphere where kids, these things can be normalized again, and they can learn ways to manage the difficult feelings, so they're less likely to turn to drugs to remove them, right? So could you talk about, Jillian, some of the activities that are in the kit, and some of the things that we're trying to, show the kids or teach the kids with
Sure.
it?
So yeah, so now we're up to 20 activities in the toolkit, which is incredible, because you can pick and choose which ones you need to use or which ones you want to use. So we have an icebreaker. That's usually the first activity that students use, and it's an icebreaker ball activity. So you write questions on the ball, you pass it around to each other, you get to know each other. And this is very successful because a lot of students have a lot more in common than they think they do. And they kind of form a bond knowing each other and getting to know each other. So that's one of them. We also have breathing exercises. We just had Tom Spears on, and there's a video on our website, and he helps guide breathing exercises for us. So whether it be meditation or breathing through stress, just ways that students on their own can sit back and breathe through what they're going through. We have Serenity Stones, which is a huge hit in my house. Even you paint rocks and you get your emotions out, get your feelings out, whether it be happy, whether it be a saying or a favorite quote or something fun. And what we did in my family is we left them across, we left them in the neighborhood, so people would find them, and it would just brighten people's day. We have different art activities in there and coloring pages. We have, we just started some running activities. There's just so many different avenues that you could pick and choose through in the Herren Project activities that fit what you need and what you're going through.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Izzy. I'm glad you got to join us. Do you want to introduce yourself? We were just kind of talking about HP clubs and what's in the kit.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry I'm late. I just got off my class. But thank you so much for having me. My name's Izzy. I am the Herren Project Youth Engagement Specialist, and I'm a college student at Roger Williams University studying public health. So.
And you have other roles too, don't you? Isn't there other things you do?
Yes, I have like 14 different hats. I am also serve as the SAD National President of the Student Leadership Council, and I am also a tobacco-free ambassador, and everything else in between. So yeah.
Yes, you got a lot going on.
Yes.
Very active with our youth.
Yes.
So why don't you, Izzy, what in your role, like what are your goals? Like what are you trying to do to help our youth today?
Yeah, so honestly, one of my goals when I came into this position was to really strengthen the relationship and communication system between youth and us, because I've noticed that even in my own experiences as a student, going to leadership conferences and applying for national positions like these, students didn't know who to contact. And that's where sometimes businesses or general nonprofits who are youth driven tend to lack, because students just generally don't know who to contact, and they want to be a part of these things as a national level, but they don't know where to go. And from there, me and Jillian have really succeeded in increasing the youth representation, and as well as the communications between us and the youth. We've had an increase in emails and just discussions with students who want to know more, advisors who want to know more. So that's been honestly one thing that has gone really great. And another thing is to increase the youth representation when it comes to public health persistent issues like these, because students, especially in this generation, they're loud, they are upset about multiple things, and they know that there's a lot of inequities and disparities within what is going on. And they want to be a part of organizations that value diversity, diverse experiences, and diverse voices among all platforms. And, in creation of our Youth Ambassador program this past year, I think it's been wicked successful that we have increased our youth representation in that capacity because we have students who are so passionate about multiple things.
Right.
But I would say those are my two main ones, as well as promoting wellness and really helping students even outside of what I do. I always have multiple people who confide in me about certain things, and one of my things that I even do in this position and outside of it is just promote wellness, self-love, and care, and to really advocacy, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And I want to circle back a little bit too. We were just talking about actually self-care, since you just brought that up. We were talking about coping skills and learning how to cope. And by the way, for those of you who are listening today, I know we're talking about this in relation to kids, but this is actually also something that we need to do as adults, and we need to encourage our loved ones to do. Even if they're already struggling with substances, they can still start to learn how to cope. So for instance, I have a lot right now of moms reaching out, right? And marijuana is huge right now with our youth, right? And it's huge with adults too, because it's legal now. So what's happened with the legalities, and I won't get into all the political stuff, but one of the things that's happened with it becoming legal is that especially our youth are starting to think it's okay. So that means legalization means that it's safe and it's okay for me to use, right? One of the things that we know is it's actually not safe for teens. For adults, whatever, it's like having a glass of wine at the end of the day, smoking a joint. It's probably not going to do a ton of harm to your nervous system as long as you're not overdoing it. But for our youth, we're still really unsure what happens in the developing brain when there's a lot of cannabis use going on. So we have a lot of parents reaching out asking for help with this because their teens are using, and the teens are like, but it's legal, it's fine, it's good, it's safe, it's worse things I could do, right? One of the things that I suggest to these parents is, honestly, we talk about this in here all the time, is we can't control what our kid, after a certain age, you can't control what your teenager is going to do, right, Izzy? As a parent, you want to believe you have all that control, right? And sometimes we try to force it, but it's actually a false sense of control because we really don't anymore. So one of the things that we can do is empower our kids. First of all, talk about why, which Chris always says, like the why behind why are you medicating your emotions? Why are you smoking? And also, if it's anxiety, which I can tell you about 90% of the time, it's anxiety. So if it's anxiety, what else might you be able to try to do so you need the marijuana less, right? Which brings you back to HP clubs, right, Jillian?
Exactly. Yeah.
What we were talking about earlier.
Coping mechanisms and how to deal with the stresses and get to the reasons why people are, turning to any type of a substance or alcohol and prevent it. So why do you, as Chris says, why do you have to, have beers to with your friends on a Friday night? Why can't you just be yourself? So what Herren Project Clubs wants to do is build up the confidence and the choice making and get to the reasons to why people would choose to pick up a marijuana cigarette or a joint or a beer.
Right. And the thing I like the most about it is that if you have or you do, it's still okay for you to come to HP Club. You don't,
absolutely,
this is not a place that's just for the kids who are making positive choices. I think we found along the way that group of kids is awesome and they need a lot of praise, but they don't necessarily need a ton of support, right? It's the kids who aren't making the good choices, the kids who are already turning to substances, that oftentimes need the support. And one thing Chris says all the time is we got to work together. Both groups of kids got to stop blaming and shaming each other and start to help each other a little bit more. And we're trying to do that, right, Jillian?
Absolutely. We're also trying to, in this group of kids that join the clubs, they bond together, they make decisions together, and they have enough confidence in each other and themselves to work together. So with Herren Project Clubs, we do have some clubs in middle schools, and and it's going as low as, 7th grade, 8th grade. And the uptick of middle schools reaching out to me and saying, you know what, like, we got to get to these kids before they make the choices and before they get to high school. So that's huge with prevention right now. And the good thing, if they do start in a middle school, they have a group of kids to transition to high school with and join the club that's already developed in their high school. So, one of our jobs, Izzy and I, are to reach out to youth is as young as the 7th grade. With the Youth Ambassador Program, I'm sure Izzy will talk a little bit more about, but we have 7th graders applying and now on the board, and working with kids, younger than we thought we would ever have to. But with everything that's going on, the younger, the better. I mean, we're going to be working with, there's a couple elementary schools as well that have Herren Project clubs. Obviously, the content is different, and it's differentiated to the groups. So we'll have elementary, middle, high school, and eventually even college level, which we're working on now. And recovery high schools are included in Herren Project clubs as well. So like Kristin was saying earlier, people make bad choices. We will help you even if you've made bad choices, and it's not too late to reach out to Herren Project or Herren Project Club. And we'll accept you and we'll help you make better choices in the future with Herren Project clubs.
Right. And just a question, if for those people that are watching today that might find this interesting but not know how to go about starting one,
Sure thing. Yeah, great question. So online, on our website, and I think it's going to be put in the chat if it's not already, once you register for a Herren Project club, excuse me, you will have access to all 20 activities, coloring pages, posters, and me. So you'll have me backing you up and starting the clubs however you need. I am only a phone call away, an email away, and I can guide you on how to set the clubs up. So an amazing thing that we started just recently in the last month or so is little cohorts. So the middle school teachers are working together and talking about how they start their clubs up. We have people that are reaching out and asking how to start up a virtual club. Like, it seems like out of the realm of possibility to start a club up right now and virtually. But I'm seeing that right now, it's so important, and these students need a place and they need clubs. They need each other. Yeah. So I've had a lot of questions. We're having monthly meetings with Herren Project Club advisors and students, 2 different Zooms that I can put on. It'll be on the website. If you register, you'll get the emails. And we're just kind of talking through ways that some of their clubs are successful and what has worked and what hasn't worked as well. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel every time a Herren Project club joins. We're just working together in cohorts as teammates and making sure that we know how to start the clubs and that they're successful. So virtually starting a club sounds very difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. And a lot of the new clubs that have started, I'll call out Mount View and Holden. Her name is Mackenzie. She is doing an amazing job. She started a club. She already has over 20 members, and they're all wearing their t-shirts today. They were supposed to go back to school today, and unfortunately, due to everything that's going on, but all the club members wore their t-shirts and they were on a Zoom, and they were so happy. And it's very successful. They're doing some of the online activities that we have, and they're loving it. So awesome. Yeah, and they don't even know. I mean, they know, but the skills that they're learning and the way that they're dealing with the stresses is in a fun way. They're not, it's not just say no. It's not just if you do drugs, it's bad. It's more of the skills and the fun. Like, you don't need substances to have fun, and they're learning this in the 7th grade, and it's going to carry it over through high school. I mean, it's incredible.
That is absolutely incredible. So those of you that have students in the school system, you can always encourage them to start a group. If there's some parents here, you can also contact your school committee members in your local community and encourage them to bring this up and see if you're interested, and see if you can help get it
course.
started that way. Obviously, if you're in a school system, it's easy peasy. You're already in it. You can
Yeah.
you can bring
And
it.
if you need, like me, like I find myself talking to principals and assistant principals and coaches before they register, and just validating what we're doing. And they want to know the details before they do register for the club. So if you're a parent or a teacher or an advisor or somebody that's on the fence and thinking about starting a club and you need more details, you can reach me, and I can talk to you, and I can talk to administration and start some clubs up for you. Absolutely. And I'm at Jillian at herrenproject.org. So we could put that in the chat for later, but I would love to help. So
great, thank you. I think for those of you that are here today, I know typically we're talking more about programs for adults who have already begun their use, but I wanted to go into prevention today a little bit, because this is where we stop it. This is where we start to make headway, so we don't have to be reactive anymore. This is the proactive side. So I want to encourage, I know a lot of you right now are having difficulties and you're just trying to get through the day to day, and I totally get that. But when your life calms down a little bit, this is the stuff we need to start to come together around, because this is the stuff that we got to start helping our kids not need substances to the degree that they do right now. I also want to throw out there, we're taking questions. So if you're on Facebook, throw questions in the comment bar, and we will answer them. Throw a question in the Q&A. It doesn't have to be related to just prevention. If you came here today with a question regarding a loved one that you are dealing with right now, I'm happy to help with those as well. So feel free to throw out any questions you have, and we're happy to answer them. I want to circle back to you, Izzy. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you're the closest one to this, right? I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in high school. So what are your thoughts on what kids are struggling with today, and what you think or what you see that we need to try to help them with?
Yeah, so one thing I can say is I forgot to mention, I'm also the chairperson of a local coalition. And a lot of the local coalitions really go by the campaigns of talk early, talk often. So I just want to put like a little PSA out there, talk early, talk often. Because in order for these prevention programs to work, they need to start early, and there needs to be precedent set for students and young individuals to also start learning that they need to know how to cope with certain things, and they need to know how to have those coping skills and how to execute them when they're feeling stressed, anxious, depressed, or any of the other following. So and in general, to back to your question, there's many different things that teens are dealing with today. Not only are they dealing with sexuality and preferences, and also learning about themselves, but they're also dealing with tons and tons of peer pressure, and a lot of mental health struggles. And considering with the pandemic, they are, like myself, they're losing out on years that they're supposed to, and they're told to, that they're going to remember. They're trying to cope with online learning, and some people can't exactly catch if their son or daughter is doing the best on it or not. They may seem like they're doing well, but that doesn't mean it's really hard for them to get up in the morning and even make the initiative to get on the computer. Or they're up till 12 a.m. and you don't know that they've working on a last minute project because they've pushed it off because they just don't have the motivation. And a lot of times, teens don't come forth, and because they feel that they might, be alone, they might not have anyone who will understand them. So, create a safe space, because not only in colleges is there a lot of, things with sexual assault, but there's so many things with mental health and other things that teens are battling. So it's really good to identify, and if you see and feel as though something's off, address it in a very loving and caring manner, because hostility, we're going to be bound to run away. Like, not literally, but not address it if we're confronted with hostility. And one thing that Herren Project has been doing to really help teens either provoke conversations or start to think about certain things is I started in the executive director of the Purple Couch. And it's really a fun, outgoing, but place to talk about some serious issues that teens are dealing with. We recently done advocacy work. Eric and I, Eric Daddario, he's my amazing co-host, had talked about what to do post-election, nothing political, but more or less to keep up that advocacy energy. But as well as we're currently, next week's episode is going to be expressive art. But there's also just general things about fighting for your love, about sports, and the loss of sports, but as well as, coping mechanisms and skills and, things that we have done during the pandemic, and all of that other great stuff. So did that answer the...
That answered the question. You're so like on point, Izzy. You just like go.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always like to mention too, when we're talking about this, I work with teens as well in my private practice, getting to be mostly working with teens actually. And what we're seeing from the psychiatric community is that the at-risk youth, they have added high achievers and top achievers to the list of at-risk youth, which is interesting. So oftentimes we think that the kids are doing the best academically, are fine, and they're not. Our kids are not okay. I think we have shifted, at least I've seen a shift from when I was in school, which was a while ago, but not that long ago, where I kind of expected that I would graduate, maybe go to a decent college, and then have like an average life, right? That was what I expected. Whereas you guys seem to have this pressure to be amazing, right? Everybody's got to be the best. Yeah, I know. but no, and everybody can't be the best, right? Mm-hmm. So you're all, there's a lot of competition and fighting. The best example I have of this is from a kid who came in telling me that he wasn't going to make it in life because he only had a 4.3 GPA, and in order to get in Georgetown he had to have a 4.5. And I was like, first question, you can get over a 4.0? Yes. I didn't even know that, right? So this is what our kids are struggling with. Do you see some of this?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. Teens, yes, we are dealing with a lot of unintentional pressure. I don't want to say that there's parents out there that are intentionally pressuring their children to be doctors when they want to be an art therapist. But sometimes I feel like we create it for ourselves unintentionally because we're surrounded by certain things. I've done it for myself. I have not, and I've struggled with, I'm going to be open about this, is separating my work life from my home life and my school life from my home life. I'm terrible at it. And I'll be the first to admit that I still have coping mechanisms I still need to work on. As an 18-year-old, I am far from perfect. And the's days where I forget that I have to learn.
44, and I'm still working on them, Izzy. I'm not trying to not give you hope here, but it's a lifelong journey.
It is. And there's some things that I know how to cope with better than others. And that's some things that, people need to recognize about teens, is that I am absolutely fantastic with coping with one thing, but I'm horrible at coping with overthinking. And that's a lot of what teens do these days specifically, is we overthink, we hold ourselves to a very high standard. And if we fall below that standard, we immediately have an all or nothing mindset. And we go from this, oh my gosh, I'm a failure, I couldn't get a 4.0, I got a 3.9, or something of that nature. Or for me specifically, oh, dang it, I couldn't get into Boston University, I'm never going to have a public health degree, or something of that nature. And now I'm holding myself even to a higher standard because I have to get into a good grad school. So I'm like, okay, so I have to get into Columbia University if I want that degree because it's a 2% acceptance rate.
Gosh,
I you know what I mean?
College, enjoy your freshman year, my dear.
Exactly. And this is a great example of how us students are holding ourselves to such a high expectation that we forget to allow ourselves to be human. And that's what needs to be encouraged, is that just to be human and be yourself. You're allowed for mistakes. You're allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to cut people out of your life if you feel that they're not benefiting you. And the full nine. We feel like we have to stay for certain people. Teens, we just generally have a hard time letting down our people-pleasing barrier, and it's very unintentional because we want to not be rejected from peer groups. We want our parents to, love us fully, and we want them to be proud of us. And once kids start feeling as though that they're not achieving those, it becomes an all or nothing mindset
Yeah,
extensively.
and that's what I've seen. I've seen a lot of the all or nothing mindset. And by the way, I do want to throw out there for the parents, we do have a couple of questions I'm going to get to, but I want to throw out there for the parents is that what I've seen is that only probably maybe 20% of the time is this actually coming from the parents. It's stuff that's being installed just from our society today and from the school system. So if you're a parent and you're like, oh my God, this is all my fault, it's most of the time the parents are saying, especially once they see what the kid's doing to themselves, the parents are saying, hey, it doesn't matter, but the kids are still doing it.
It's true. So as a parent of a young child, and you as well, Kristin, a teen, like, yeah, my son, if he doesn't get an amazing grade or a 100, he gets so upset, and it's not coming from me. Like, as long as you're a good kid and you're nice to the kids that need you to be nice to them, like, that's all that the expectations of a parent are. But you can see the pressures in the 5th grade, and that's why we want to get these clubs going even younger, because they're getting this pressure from their school systems and their peers and
MCAS.
Yeah. And older siblings or cousins or somebody else that they're comparing themselves to, and educationally, never mind personally, the comparisons. So it's sad, and it's crazy.
Sad.
And you have to, if they're starting in the 5th grade, even lower, then
no, I totally
you got to get there. And sometimes it's out of, I can't tell him like, oh, it's, I know that you got a 99 and you wanted a 100, but I'm not upset with you. It's all a mindset of a kid. So
and he needs to make that choice. We have a couple questions, you guys, we got to get to. The first one is, I'm wondering what resources you share for early intervention. I hear from parents all the time looking for help with a child who has begun dabbling with substances, and resources are extremely limited in our part of the state. Yeah, there isn't a ton out there in most states, unfortunately. Our prevention is still lacking quite a bit. But what?
Is this a question from Rhode Island, or is this
No, this is nationwide. So we're not sure what state that this person is. If it is, if you can speak, if you want to speak to some of the prevention things that are currently in Rhode Island. But I just want to throw out there that what I suggest, it's at Mass. I'm in Mass. I suggest getting counselors early, getting your kids into therapy. The earlier, the better. And there doesn't have to be anything wrong with them to be in therapy. Therapy is more just having a trusted adult that can help them grow, because your kids are not going to tell you things. There are things they're just not going to. And it's not because they don't trust you, they don't love you, they don't want to tell you. It's because most kids are so afraid of disappointing their parents. And even if you're putting it out there that you're not going to be disappointed, it's still in there. So it's not your fault that they're not going to talk to you. Oftentimes I'll hear parents say, but I want them to come to me. And first of all, I'm going to challenge on that too. No, you don't. Some of the things they're struggling with, you really don't. Let them take it to another trusted adult. But it can be very helpful, because they need to work through some of this stuff, especially if they're starting to use. I mean, one of the things that I have a benefit of doing with the kids that I work with is I'm not emotional about this. So I can really sit in it with them, and they can tell me what it is that they're doing, and we can really talk about the why. And we can really get in there. And after they start to trust me, they start to be really honest. And we can do a lot of work, a lot of really good work at helping kids understand what's motivating them and why they're doing it. And that can actually help reduce all in itself. So starting there is huge. I think what Jillian has and Izzy are both talking about, especially with something like HP clubs, we got to learn stress management techniques. We got to teach our kids coping strategies, and you guys can do that from home. So go ahead, Izzy. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, I would also say look into your local coalitions. Just gonna say prevention coalitions are so underrated. They have fantastic resources, because a lot of the times the coalitions are made up from people all around the state. Specifically in Rhode Island, for an example, some of the coalitions are mainly made up of public health people, or people in those general areas of social work from Rhode Island Student Assistance Services and schools, and other little local things like the health equity zones and stuff. And they share a lot of intervention resources like Talk Early, Talk Often, parent handbook guides, guides, and so many other things that you can get just by simply contacting them or seeing if they have resources set out at a library. I used to be like a little runner from one of my local coalitions, and we would put out parent handbook guides. And by the time I would get back after putting out 20, all of them would be gone. And I would have to, that would be one of the main things we had to fill. Although they're pretty expensive, they love to stock those because they realize they're being taken and that there's parents who need them. And that means if there's 20 parents who need them, there's probably another 20 more who need them. Now, it's okay if you need to get a guidebook like that. That is not questioning your parenting. That is not questioning your ability to parent. It's simply informing you about some of the things because we've had some cultural shifts since the time of your guys' growing up to our time of growing up. We have to remember that teens are submerged in a lot of social media, and now we went from being almost the generation that was completely tobacco free to now we've shot up in rates of teens vaping and using other tobacco related products. So there's been a lot of changes from the time that you guys have been growing up to the times that I'm growing up in or that your children are growing up in. Guidebooks and handbooks will not question, or they don't want to feel as though they're questioning your ability to parent. It's just informing you so you can learn how to deal with situations that your child might encounter, where it's substances or social media and cyberbullying or many other things that are very, very common today that may have not been so common back, or that are more informed about today that have not or were not informed about back before the 2000s or even within the last 10 years. So I just want to put that out there.
That's
You
awesome.
can also, there's a resources page on our website, herrenproject.org. And I know Kristin works very hard updating that and keeping that, current with what's going on in the world and different topics that teens have. So that's also on our website under the resources.
In the chat.
Oh, and there's a link in the chat. Who knew? So please feel free to look over those resources and reach out again to Herren Project if you need to.
Right. And the more, I'm a parent, and I'm going to tell you, the more that I learn and the more that I know, it actually makes me a better parent. So don't ever be afraid to get the information. Yeah. And we have another question. I caught my daughter using a wax pen to get high a few months ago. Yep, this is pretty common these days. Her father and I told her if we suspect she's using again that we will test her. Perfect. I have a feeling she is, but I know if I test her and it comes back negative, it will push her away even more. She has been angry with me lately for unknown reasons, maybe just because she is 16 and I'm her mom. Yep. Should I wait until I have concrete evidence she is using, or just test her and deal with her being even more angry with me? Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so I do want to say that I honestly suggesting that, testing her. Maybe Kristin, you can confirm this. I don't know if those kinds of things will come up in a testing, but
so if it's marijuana, it will come up in a test.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. So I understand that. I agree. But I do want to say with I guess the part of unknown reasons and her being angry, have a heart-to-heart with her. That would be maybe my suggestion, is having a heart-to-heart discussion. Because like we've been saying through this, is getting to the why of maybe why she's using a wax pen. Or maybe just in general if she's struggling, maybe she's struggling with her mental health, maybe she's struggling with friends, she doesn't know how to express and channel her emotions. And maybe there's a lot more turmoil that may not be coming to the surface to discuss. And sometimes, addressing it in the form of, hey, I feel as though maybe you've been off lately, and I just wanted to talk to you to make sure that your mental health is okay. How are you doing with your friends? Is everything in school going okay? Kind of going through the basics of the life of like everything to really break down what a teen is going through. Not only are we having, not only has there been an increase of suicide rates with teens since the beginning of the pandemic, there's also been an increase in accidental overdose deaths in Rhode Island specifically. I don't know about any of the states, but there's also online learning, loss of contact of friends. Many teens are coming to the terms with that. Some of their friends are not who, not that they're not who they say they are, but they're struggling with friends not losing friends generally, and not that they're being rejected, but just because they realize that if they weren't in school, then they wouldn't be friends with those people and they wouldn't talk to them unless they're in school. Something of that nature. And then on top of that, SATs, still having to take SATs in the middle of the pandemic, and so many other things that just, are like reforming what we've known and what she has known for the past 16 years.
Yep.
So just going through some of the things that, we're going through.
Yeah,
that
we're absolutely,
perfect.
And we're definitely all struggling. Our teens are struggling. I don't want you to get overly nervous though when Izzy says suicide and overdoses and things like that, because some of this behavior is also very normal for a 16-year-old. So I know it's okay, Izzy, we got to be real about what's going on out there, right? But I just don't want to have people panic either. You got to be in there and you got to have these conversations. And you got to let your kids know that you're open to discussions, right? The problem is that when they tell us things, we have a tendency to get anxious, and we have a tendency to say things like, well, just don't do that, right? And that's going to make them not come back to talk to you. So we have to get better, and it's not easy. This is where we need support too, because we have to get better about being able to sit in that and listen to them and ask them questions about the why, instead of immediately going to punishment and the no, because that's going to shut everything down. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, you may not be the right person to have these conversations with her, and that's okay too. So offer up a trusted adult, somebody that you trust, that she trusts. Maybe it's a clinician. We're all doing telehealth at this point, so you can still get in to see, although we're pretty booked, but you still can probably find somebody if you put the legwork in for her to start to talk to. Also, always want to talk when we're discussing teens about the brain development of a 16-year-old. So 16-year-old female brain is now being flooded with estrogen, and the brain has never seen estrogen. And we all know from the stereotype what behaviors estrogen causes, right? Like, the mood swings up and down and up and down and up and down. So irritability. So a lot of this is just inherent in the female teenage brain. Guys, the boys have similar things, except it presents more as anger and an ability to control their anger, because that's what testosterone causes. So now we throw in the fact that their prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. Prefrontal cortex deals with emotion, impulse control. It deals with being able to mitigate emotions. It's all your rational thinking. That's not fully developed. So it's not surprising that your 16-year-old is struggling right now, and she's irritable, and her personality seems to change, have changed a little bit. If she's doing drugs, that obviously is going to contribute to it too. Right? But so just let her know that this is going. I have these discussions with my son all the time, and he'll come to me and be like, I'm so mad and I don't know why. I'm like, you know why? And he's like, yeah, you're right. I do. I know. It's just my brain. Right? Like letting them know what's going on in their head, and you trying not to react to it. Both of those things together are very helpful. I try to see myself, I remind myself of the brain, and I try to see myself as kind of being that I'm kind of got to step in and be the brain that he doesn't have, right? Like I got to say, no, you're not going to go riding in the roads on your dirt bike at 7 p.m. Like, no, you're not. You're 14. You don't ride a dirt bike on the road. Like, I have to be the person that steps in and says that. And it's okay if he gets mad. And about testing, I have been telling my son since he was 8 years old that my house is a testing zone. And I'm not doing it because I want to punish him. I'm doing it because I want to help him, because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what he's doing. And I want to give him an opportunity to be able to say to his friends, I can't do that. My mom tests. Okay. And I also will tell him, if the issue of trust comes up all the time, I hear this from so many parents, but then they'll think I don't trust them. Yup. I want them to think you don't trust them. And if they get mad about that, that's okay. But it's all in how you say it, right? If my son says, you don't trust me, I'll say, are you a teenager? And when he says yes, then I'll say, then no, I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you. Like, I know what you're doing, right? And then see, Izzy's laughing. Like, teenagers know. They know what their peers are doing, and they know why we inherently don't trust them.
It's more prominent today than it has been in the last 5 years.
Right.
And that's it. And I'm gonna second everything Kristin says, because it's like I can just say that there's words and are so important, and going right to reacting and being like, well, what the heck? Like, no.
And I found
'Cause
that
that's gonna
kids,
make them run
when
away and
kids
not come home.
are making poor decisions, they don't feel good about themselves. So when we get angry and we tear them down even further, we're actually perpetuating the problem. And trust me, I live with a 14-year-old boy. I know this is not easy as a parent to control the anger that we have sometimes in relation to them, but we really got to work towards it because we're the adult and their behavior is going to be erratic. And we have to take a break. I will often say to him, I'm leave me alone. I'm taking a break. Go away because I'm about to say something I don't mean and I don't want to say. So we're taking a timeout because sometimes I need to collect myself in order to have a rational discussion with him, and that's okay. Take a break. I also want to make sure that we mention that we do have parent discussion guides that we have been working diligently on for a while, and they are going to be coming to our website soon. So you can always, come back and check for those. They're very helpful. It's just about how to talk to your kids about difficult issues, mostly regarding substances. There was one other thing I want to mention because if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget. We have Wellness Week coming, Wellness Week with Herren from March 1st to March 6th. And we got a lot of cool things that we're going to be doing that week. So also please make sure you check our website for those things. Jillian, do you have anything you want to add to everything we're talking about? I'm seeing you, yes, and I'm figuring there's stuff kicking around in your head.
Well, yes, I do. There are. So, as you were talking about the teen, having a teenager, and I have one as well. So I can see, I relate to you so much. If your teenager needs, or your child, or your preteen, your tween needs somebody to talk to, again, I'm going to, throw it out there that Herren Project clubs are a safe space for students to talk to each other. Maybe they don't want to talk to their parent, or maybe they, like you said, they need an adult to talk to, an advisor or a coach, or somebody in the school systems could always they could reach out to them and get help that way. And the resources that we mentioned earlier, there's resources on there as well if your child needs to reach out to somebody. So, Herren Project Clubs is a great safe space for them to talk through a lot of these issues that we're mentioning. Also, on Wellness Week with Herren, we're doing a lot of prevention work during that week. We'll have screenings of the first day film. We'll do a lot of the activities that are in the toolkits. We'll have wellness bingo. We'll give away prizes. We'll have a lot of contests, blogs to read, information to get out to you guys. So please keep your eyes open for all of that. On the prevention aspect as well, I do want to talk about not only the youth ambassadors and the Purple Couch that Izzy is killing right now. She's doing such an amazing job. I mentioned Herren Project Live on Wednesday nights. We also do scholarships and grants for high school seniors, and a grant for an after prom substance-free celebration. So that's going to be coming out soon. A lot of different things that we're working on, as well as we're going to have a National Youth Conference, hopefully 2021. That'll be held in Massachusetts at Anna Maria College. As long as people stay safe, this will be a great opportunity to hear, well, number one, to hear Chris Herren speak and work on some of the activities and meet people, meet other people across the country that are going through the same things and deal with some of the ways with the stresses that they're feeling. So this is all on our website. We have a lot of great initiatives going on for our youth right now. And like I said earlier, you could reach out to Izzy or I, and we'd love to get you involved. There's also a form for parents if parents want to reach out and stay involved with what's going on. You can fill that form out as well. So there's a lot on the prevention side. So we're busy, and our main goal is to help our youth.
Yep. And if you guys haven't seen the first day, and if you're struggling with a child or an adult who is using substances, I highly recommend you watch it. As Jillian said, it'll be aired during Wellness Week. and you can see it for free at that point. Also, you can get it from the firstdayfilm.com, which it's, I think it's $9.99 for a download, something right around there. Especially with our teens, it's very effective, but it brings even adults to tears. Chris does an excellent job of talking about the why. It's not just about substance use. So even if you have a child struggling with mental health issues or cutting or any of the major issues that our kids are dealing with today, he touches upon it, and it's really, really, really effective. It really, for me, I cry every time I see it. I don't know
Every
about you
single
guys,
time.
but
I've seen
still cry. I've seen it
100
I've heard him
times.
speak a billion times in person, and I watch the first day and I cry every time. So highly recommend. I actually will, when I have teens who are struggling with substance use and their parents have brought them to therapy with me, it's the first thing I suggest they do as a family. So and this has nothing to do with Herren Project. So I'm not actually giving a Herren plug here. I actually truly believe in it.
I also want to say that all of you are amazing and you're doing the best you can. Especially if we are in the middle of a pandemic. There's, problems with unemployment. There's the full nine going on right now, and you're doing the best you can, and you're doing great. Okay, so look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say, I am doing the best I can. I am brave. I'm strong, and we're gonna get through this day. And if it's just a day at the end of the day, that's okay. You're being human. You're doing the best you can. You're raising teens.
Not easy. Not easy.
Not easy. Okay, I'm a teen. It's not easy. So
even the easy teens aren't easy typically.
Well, because you throw on homeschooling and connectivity issues for the internet. That's my big thing. And then working, full-time job and trying to get to the grocery store and stay safe. Trying to find, masks and toilet paper, and there's a lot going on.
Absolutely. It's definitely a very, very tough time. We have time for maybe another question. If anybody has anything kicking around, again, it doesn't have to be related to just prevention. We're happy to answer any questions that you have regarding any issues you're in or you're dealing with right now. But yeah, this pandemic has definitely added some layers onto an already difficult life.
Yeah. Yep. But y'all are doing great. You're kicking butt.
Yeah. Okay, you guys. Well, unless we'll give it another minute and see if anyone else has any questions. Do either of you guys have anything to wrap up with? Jillian, anything you want to say?
I can't wait to hear from all of you.
I know. Me either.
If you have any teams, throw them at me.
Yeah.
Izzy is great.
Yeah.
They all love Izzy. We all of us, even us adults, love Izzy.
Yeah. She keeps me young. She keeps me, up with the lingo and what certain things mean, and so yeah.
Okay. Bonnie is currently telling me to tell everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of really good videos up there, a bunch of different stuff, including trainings for family members. So I don't know how to subscribe to YouTube, but I'm going to tell all of you to do it.
Help us get to 500 subscribers. We are at 425.
Oh yeah, help
Ooh,
us. That would be awesome.
us.
Get us over the 500 mark. And there's a lot of good resources up there for families. And all of these lunch and learns that we've done in the past, we've had a bunch of different people come in and speak, and they're all up there as well. And this will be up there too after we finish. So anything else you guys want to plug?
I think I said it all. I think I plugged away.
Okay. Well, I want to plug the support groups, especially for family members. We do have weekly support groups that are run by licensed clinicians. They're all free. They're all virtual, and they were virtual prior to COVID. So we kind of invented the virtual support group, just so everybody knows.
The Zoom. We were doing Zoom meetings before Zoom meetings were cool.
I've been Zooming for 5 years here at Herren Project. So, but they're all free. They're all, you can get, if you go to our website, they're all listed on our website. We have support groups specific to parents. We have support groups specific to parents with teens. We have just general family support groups, spousal support groups, and fortunately and unfortunately grief support groups as well for people who have lost ones to substance use disorder. So again, they're all free. There's not even any insurance information that's exchanged. So, and if you have a loved one who's struggling, they can always call our treatment navigation department, and all that information's on our website too. And we're happy to have a conversation with them about what resources are out there.
You guys are awesome.
Yes, you guys are awesome, and I'm so happy you came on today.
Thanks for having us.
This
Yes.
was awesome.
Thanks, Kristin.
And I will definitely be seeing you guys again soon, hopefully. Oh, and recovery meetings as well. I want to make sure I put those out there. Every night at 7:30, Herren Project has a free free support group for people who are in recovery. And that's, again, virtual, and you can get all the information right on our website, herrenproject.org. And Bonnie has been kind enough to put all of these links all in the chat box. So if you guys are interested, you can find all the information right there in the chat. So
thank you, Bonnie.
Yes, thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
And thank you guys, and have a wonderful day. And I will definitely be having you back.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Let us know. Thank you so much for letting me share my prevention work.
No problem. It's exciting stuff. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks.